Deven, coming across to you, Voltas, the market share has slipped a little bit. The street doesn't like it too much. What's your take on the stock?
Yeah, Nigel, good afternoon. Well, on one side, I think the overseas projects and I think the provisioning pertaining to that has dampened the profits for this particular period, and I think also resulted into a loss, in fact, due to provisioning. On the other side, I think the not so good news is about the market share and I think the growth. At the same time, the commodity pressure continues as far as I think the cost aspect is concerned on the margin side. So all in all put together, I think unless the recovery happens smarter, probably I think one will have to wait for a little longer time as I see it. Maybe as I think I would talk it out, I think this particular quarter is a washout quarter as far as the earning and the performance is concerned. Maybe we'll have to look out for the cues somewhere in the February, March 2023 for the better summer and thereafter the growth therein. So till that point of time, I believe that I think stock price might not perform as much as I think one would like it to be.
Deven, talking about poor numbers, the other one I was noticing is Relaxo. And I think the company joins us tomorrow for a chat, but numbers are a complete washout. The margins are down from 16%. I mean, basically, they've almost halved. Profits are down some 65–70%. Do you track this one? And by the way, valuations are almost at 100 times earnings.
Yeah, that's a challenge, Prashant, and I guess I think it is going to be true for many of the companies where the valuations are on a higher side. You don't have the scope for any kind of error as far as I think your business performance is concerned. And for whatever be the reason, though I have not gone through in detail about the numbers, but for whatever be the reasons, I think smallest of the I think the performance disappointment would possibly, I think, not be very kind as far as I think the market is concerned. I think the stock price will get probably punished. In my viewpoint, I think this is a period wherein most of the companies where I think the valuations have actually gone ahead far in advance for next 2 years, and I think the performance has remained muted. I would think that I think some amount of valuation derating is in place for many of the companies, not talking in particular about Nexo. But the point which I'm trying to say is that many of the companies where the valuations have peaked ahead of time could possibly be the ones I think would be suffering for next couple of quarters till the time I think the price correction takes place.
And Deven, any thoughts on Indigo Paints? And earlier this week, we also had numbers coming in from Kansai Nerolac. Thoughts on the industry itself?
Well, I would think that the industry per se is having relatively better time, largely because of the fact that the raw material prices have come under control. And at the same time, the demand scenario remains upbeat. So obviously, I think the growth on one side and I think lower cost on the other side is adding into the possibility of companies reporting relatively better performance going forward. So the preference in the pack would be definitely Asian Paint, which continues to be the leader, and I think the would dominate the kind of a show, given the sheer size and the volume that also they have. The likes of Indigo could possibly be the next best choice, I think, as I would like to call it. Maybe I think one will have to watch a little bit more carefully about I think how exactly they increase their margins going forward.
But Deven, as promised, tell us what's your view on Mahindra and Mahindra Financial Services? Looks good. Stock blasted away more than 10%.
Yeah, I think despite of that one-off kind of a provision that they had to make in this particular quarter in the reported result, I think this strong commentary has possibly helped. And I think what very surprised because I think in the rural area, the activities are quite robust and particularly the segment in which they are in the farm equipment segment, I think where the demand scenario remains, I think extremely strong. So the disbursement, I think, which they are talking about, which is, I think, eye-popping number, at least I think it is in this particular reported quarter. And continuing that further with 9% sequential growth that they reported in this disbursement, I would think that I think going forward situation could be relatively much stronger. And that's where probably the argument would be that the stock can be held into the portfolio. Maybe the corrective dips I think in the market whenever it gives an opportunity to add such kind of companies into the portfolio.
Okay, Deven, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us and running us through what you're making of things.